Okay, if that thing vibrates, I'm gonna need to borrow it. All right. Well, if I'm stupid, then this is you.
These sexually suggestive lines didn't come from an adult movie, but were actually real fragments from the never-aired pilot episode of the hit sitcom The Big Bang Theory.
Took you long enough.
Sorry, I got distracted.
Really? How exactly do you get distracted making a sperm deposit? Did you find something more interesting in your pants?
No.
For years, audiences have viewed Sheldon Cooper as an innocent, almost asexual figure, while Penny became the symbol of warmth and sweetness. But that iconic image was never there from the very beginning. In the original version, the show completely lacked Kaley Cuoco, Howard Wolowitz, and Raj Koothrappali. Instead, it was built around a chaotic, crude, and somewhat bizarre structure.
It's a gift you shouldn't overlook. The first attempt at a pilot for The Big Bang Theory was an utter failure.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Today, we're diving into the darkest chapter in the history of The Big Bang Theory to see exactly how the creators almost destroyed a television masterpiece with their own hands.
I was at a bar and this jerk kept hitting on me, so I grab his nads, give him a half turn, back off. The guy dumps his beer all over me. I had to come back here and change.
Katie, the bitter and unlikable version of Penny. Let's start with the biggest change, and also the one that confused people the most, the female lead. In that original pilot, there was absolutely no sunny, lovable Penny working at the Cheesecake Factory, like we all remember. Instead, there was a girl named Katie.
Didn't have Kaley Cuoco, we didn't have Simon, and we didn't have Kunal, and the story was a mess.
Completely unlike the carefree sunshine energy she would later become known for, Katie was originally written as a deeply bitter, rough, and cynical presence.
Anyway, I was thinking maybe I could come and stay with you and Henry. Why would that be awkward? If I hadn't slept with him, you never would have met him.
While Penny would later bring warmth and brightness to the show, Katie was rough, overly hardened by life, and incredibly cynical. The reason she appears in the story is because she had just been dumped by her boyfriend and ended up homeless.
No, Mom, our relationship is definitely over. I'm not going back.
Katie randomly meets Sheldon and Leonard on the street. Feeling sorry for her, our two naive guys invite her to stay at their apartment. But the moment she steps inside, her manipulative side becomes painfully obvious.
Excuse me. Do you like Indian food?
What?
See, I find that when I'm undergoing severe emotional strain, that good food and conversation can often have a calming effect. And also, curry is a natural laxative, which helps flush toxins from the lower digestive tract. And I don't have to tell you that a clean colon is just one less thing to worry about.
What the hell is wrong with you? You're asking me to dinner?
Yes?
Why?
I don't know. Concerned about you.
Actually, he's just acting on his evolutionary imperative to protect a fertile female in jeopardy. If he were a coyote, he would straddle you and yelp.
You see, Katie turned the kindness of the two engineers into nothing more than a free place to stay.
Okay, you guys can buy me dinner, but that's the end of it.
The end of what?
Wow. Let's go eat.
Great. I'm Leonard. This is Sheldon.
Of course you are. Katie, so you guys normally pick up crying women on the street?
No, this is a first.
We usually just masturbate till we have dinner money and then eat alone.
Hey, I cannot impose on you guys.
Thank you.
So, right up front, we'll just say it's for 3 days, a week tops.
Maybe, you have to recast female lead. And I went, no, the problem is the script I wrote sucks.
As a result, the entire original storyline revolved around her constantly mocking and tearing down their nerdy interests, crushing the confidence of the two geniuses by turning their lack of sexual experience into a joke.
Have you ever seen a lady naked?
I'm really uncomfortable here.
Relax.
What's his problem?
So, Katie, having a tough day?
Look, you're very sweet, but you can't help me.
You sure? Because I find that when I'm stuck on a problem, sometimes it helps to talk it out.
All right. Let's say that you hung in with a guy while he puked his way through 2 weeks of booze and Vicodin withdrawal. Wouldn't you think that he owes you a breakup explanation that goes a little deeper than I'm married? You tell him, Skippy.
My name is Sheldon.
Go with Skippy.
Labeling their scientific language as nerd speak was her way of stripping the two geniuses of their sense of control, forcing them to live by the standards of an outsider.
Just a few hours ago, you were completely distraught over the end of your relationship, and now you want to party? That makes no sense.
That makes perfect sense. Allow me to explain it to you in your language. Nerdish.
Chuck Lorre later admitted that placing such a calculating figure beside two pure-hearted souls was a strategic mistake, a writing disaster born from a creative machine pushed beyond its limits.
I would. And maybe, you have to recast female lead. And I went, no, the problem is the script I wrote sucks. Canceled it. And he said, well, that was a noble failure. And I went, because I thought my career was over.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, I thought, oh, that's it. I had my shot. I'm done. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? He goes, it was a good show. It didn't work. Let's try something else.
Wow.
And I was like.
But the audience's shock didn't stop with Katie. Sheldon Cooper in this original pilot was the real unforgettable disappointment. In the official version, Sheldon Cooper was portrayed as a genius, deeply uncomfortable with physical intimacy, with the innocent soul of a child. But in this flawed early version, he was instead chained to extremely obvious primal desires, with one preference
Once again, that attraction is purely biological.
An obsession with women who had large backsides.
In that sperm bank scene, in the character of Sheldon. In the second pilot, in the one that actually aired, it really is much less sexualized, even though Chuck is suggesting that it wasn't right for the show.
Right.
In the first pilot, we discover that Sheldon has a predilection for women with big buttocks.
You tell him, Skippy.
My name is Sheldon.
Go with Skippy.
And I have seen 6 women naked. Some of them weren't even relatives.
And we discover that, in fact, he has had he has had coitus.
Yes.
None of that exists in the second pilot.
This vulgarization was further reinforced through the revelation from Gilda, a nerdy member of the group's original circle of friends. She completely exposed Sheldon's past by recounting in detail their sexual encounter at a Star Trek convention, entirely erasing the boundary of him being an asexual genius.
Well, before we proceed to that step, I feel you have a right to know that Sheldon and I have had sex.
Oh! No, he doesn't have a right to know that.
Please. It was at a Star Trek convention. We were in costume, of course. He was doing such an effective job of portraying a Vulcan caught up in the Ponfar mating fever, I couldn't say no.
Gilda's presence, combined with Katie's personality, created an incredibly bizarre dynamic. The male characters constantly competed with one another because of physical attraction throughout the entire episode. The script even included several heavily suggestive lines.
Okay, if that thing vibrates, I'm gonna need to borrow it.
We didn't understand, how fragile these characters were, and how, despite their brilliance, they were very, very vulnerable. And the audience would let us know.
That was one of the lessons of the first pilot.
Yes, no, we put them in jeopardy or in situations where they were not being taken good care of. The audience was not happy with us. And they also let us know when the show had become too risque.
Are you listening to yourself, Sheldon? This is why I'm your only friend.
I wonder if you'd feel compelled to help her if she were unattractive.
I wonder if you'd feel compelled to help if she had a big hiney.
Right after CBS rejected this pilot episode, producer Chuck Lorre was forced to change strategies. The major flaws in the script were actually the inevitable result of his creative machine being overloaded, as he was simultaneously running the billion-dollar phenomenon 2.5 Men, while also trying to shape an entirely new project.
I didn't really have the chops to do two things at once. I was really overwhelmed between 2.5 Men, writing and producing 2.5 Men, and trying to keep it and make it, successful. And then to do a pilot was a bit of a stretch. I didn't really have the emotional or stamina to do both. And the pilot suffered as a result. The pilot really suffered as a result of my not being able to do two things at once. And
Saturday at 8 time slot.
I didn't even know they had that anymore.
Didn't have any faith in it at all. I don't think all 6 episodes aired, but it was my first chance, and I remember Tom Werner came to my office after CBS canceled it, and he said, well, that was a noble failure.
And I went, because I thought my career was over.
Yeah,
You know?
that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, I thought,
And we look at each other and go, oh my goodness, we need to rewrite. But there's something magical about what happens in front of an audience. It's very intimate. The audience is right there watching a performance right in front of them. It's not a movie being made by any stretch of the imagination. There's no canned laughter. Those are real people. And sometimes, they will tell you with their silence that you're wrong.
However, the reason CBS chose not to kill the project and instead continued funding a second pilot came down to the untouchable presence of two names, Johnny Galecki and Jim Parsons.
Come on! Who hasn't seen this differential below "Here I sit brokenhearted"?
At least I don't have to invent 26 dimensions just to make the math come out.
I didn't invent them, they're there!
In what universe?
In all of them, that's the point!
Amid a collapsing script, the chemistry and interaction between the two male leads exploded in an almost miraculous way. Their overwhelming brilliance forced the network into making a historic decision, giving the project a second chance at rebirth.
But then I started to think, we're selling our sperm to a high IQ sperm bank, and we can't guarantee high IQ offspring. Extreme intelligence is as much of a mutation as the migrating eye of the flounder.
Sheldon, you are the only person I know that can take the fun out of masturbation.
I got a call from CBS saying, we're not picking up the show, but would you consider trying it again? Yeah, I would. And maybe, you have to recast. The script I wrote sucks. I need to write another script.
Wow.
And Bill Prady and I endeavored to write another script, and almost 1 year later we shot it, and with the cast as it be, as we now know it, and it was magical.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Burrows, there was a moment when Jim Parsons is trying to decide where to sit if he's not in his spot.
Right.
There was that wonderful scene where Kelly's character sits in his spot, and he's completely bewildered because that's where I sit.
Yeah, right.
And it was a tour de force from Jim, and I was on the stage watching it in front of a live studio audience, and Jimmy Burrows looks over at me and goes, just that. And I just went, this is a gift.
This turning point forced Bill Prady to step in, transforming the strange real-life experiences from his own life into material to reshape the script, paving the way for a sitcom monument to officially rise to the throne.
And I describe, in retrospect, we know what they are, but at the time, they were just who they are. So I described a person who worked in our office who was a mathematical savant. Computer software, the way we were writing it was one of the things you had to often use is base 16 instead of base 10 math. There were two ways to convert decimal to hexadecimal. One was to hunt in the office for that stupid HP calculator that everybody kept losing. Or you could just shout across the room at Ken. And you could say, what's 191 in hex? And he would tell you, and then you would go back to your work, and he would do it in his head. But Ken couldn't calculate a tip in a restaurant. Jonathan, I'll let you puzzle through it. What is the formula in the United States if somebody were coming to this country and unfamiliar with American tipping, and they said, how much do I tip in a restaurant? What would you say?
15 to 20%, 25% if it's
Used to be 10.
Some of the people on the Big Bang.
But 15 to 20%.
Yeah.
Right?
Your personal preference based on service.
There you go. So we would go to a restaurant and we would say, Ken, you leave the tip. And he'd say, I don't know how much to leave. And we'd say it's 15 to 20% based on quality of service. And he would say, how do I evaluate that? Mm-hmm. Is it the speed with which the food came out? Well, no, that could be the kitchen. Is it the waiter's demeanor? Well, that could be genuine or it could be disingenuous. They could be angling for a tip. And we said to him, why don't you split the difference and leave 17.5% every time? And he said, that's the worst option, mathematically. And we said, why is that the worst option? Because logically, it's more likely that service is good or bad. The probability that service is exactly middling is infinitesimally small. Therefore, if each time I tip 17.5%, I can guarantee with near certainty that I am over or under tipping. And I told that story to Chuck, and Chuck said, well, we've never seen that guy on TV. I started talking about other people, and these were people who had all come up with coping mechanisms for their social deficits.
Fine. What do you want?
I have a few questions. First, I noticed that you offer soup and a half sandwich.
Yes.
Where exactly does the half sandwich come from? Are you giving me half of someone else's sandwich? Or do I have to wait for someone else in the restaurant to order the other half?
No, Sheldon, they just make a half sandwich.
You can't make a half sandwich. If it's not half of a whole sandwich, it's just a small sandwich.
Okay, fine. It's soup and a small sandwich. Is that what you want?
No, of course not. I'll have my usual.
Great.
I really remember very little in this world, but I remember this was in the kitchen. And he, for some reason, was talking about his days as a computer programmer in New York and writing code with brilliant guys who were really extraordinary minds, but very limited in their ability to work in the real world. It was hilarious, the stories about these characters, guys who could figure pi to 80 decimals but couldn't do a tip in a restaurant because there's too many variables. Couldn't talk to women, and literally could not talk to women. Just would go mute. And I just remember going, well, Bill, that's our show.
So here's an actual conversation that I heard, and I'll never forget this. It's a conversation between two of the programmers. And one of them says, I'm really worried. I'm invited to a party tonight, and people tell me I stay too long at parties. I don't know when to leave. And the other programmer said, I used to have this problem, but there's a formula.
Stop it. Stop.
What's the formula? And he said, it's very simple. When you enter the party, count the number of people who are present and assign that value to n. When the number of the people in the party is 0.7 n, leave. And if you stop and think about it, you go, that's correct.
And then one day he was talking about his life in the 80s in New York as a computer programmer and all the guys he worked with, and they were geniuses, as is Bill, but they're entirely maladapted to the world. The guys who can figure pi to 80 decimals but can't do a tip in a restaurant because there's too many variables. I just remember when he's telling me those stories about these characters, and I was laughing my ass off because it was just hilarious that these brilliant guys who were so ill-equipped to live in the real world and was sort of a beautiful mind without the paranoid schizophrenia that kind of took away some of the comedy of it. And we quickly came to the idea that the two elements could marry, that this young woman could be our entree into a world of brilliance, that she's us, she's the audience in their world. And then the real big creative move, too, was to take it away from computers and go into pure science. Physicists, Richard Feynman, Stephen Hawking, not Bill Gates, not Steve Jobs, but, particle physicists, string theory, guys that have no economic incentive. They just want to unravel the universe, but can't talk to a woman.
But they're fascinating, and we were also working on an idea about a young woman who's going off to the big city to, sounds strangely like Mary Tyler Moore, but to start her life. And there was a moment in the room where we went, well, what if these guys met that girl? Yeah.
Once the world of the two geniuses had been established, they began to need a catalyst. That was when Penny appeared, a small-town girl carrying realism and pure energy, serving as the bridge that allowed audiences to enter the bizarre world of these brilliant minds. At that point, they decided to throw away almost everything from the original pilot. The rude, cynical Katie was completely erased and replaced with Penny.
Oh, no, we don't live together. I mean, we live together, but in separate heterosexual bedrooms.
Oh, okay, well, guess I'm your new neighbor, Penny.
Oh, Leonard, Sheldon.
Hi.
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 Well, welcome to the building.
Oh, thank you. Maybe we can have coffee sometime.
Oh, great.
Great.
Great. Well, bye.
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 The core element that made all the difference was that Penny never judged or acted cruel toward the nerdy world around her. She viewed their eccentricities through a warm and open-minded perspective, filled with genuine fascination, which ultimately created a deeply comforting symbiotic relationship where they constantly cared for and protected one another.
Well, this is nice. We don't have a lot of company over.
That's not true. Gunther, Polly, and Wallowitz come over all the time.
Yes, I know, but...
Tuesday night we played Klingon Boggle until 1 in the morning.
Yeah, I remember.
I resent you saying we don't have company.
I'm sorry.
That has negative social
I
implications.
said I'm sorry.
So, Klingon Boggle?
Yeah, it's like regular Boggle, but in Klingon. Who wants the last dumpling?
Oh, me.
Penny, a moment. We just had Thai food, and in that culture, the last morsel is called the Grengjai piece, and it is reserved for the most important and valued member of the group.
Thank you all for this high honor.
But the search for Penny was just as dramatic. In fact, Kaylee Cuoco had originally auditioned during the first version of the show, back when the character was still Katie.
I wasn't quite right for it at the time. It was written a little bit older. It was written a little bit harder, if that makes sense.
The problem was that she was only 20 years old at the time. Her energy was too bright, too lively, while Katie was meant to feel older and rougher around the edges. So she was rejected. The role first went to Jodie Lynn O'Keefe and later switched to Amanda Walsh shortly before filming the failed pilot. The core element that made the difference was that Penny never judged or acted bitter toward the nerdy world around her. She viewed their eccentricity through a perspective filled with warmth and genuine curiosity, creating a deeply comforting symbiotic relationship where they constantly protected and supported one another.
Not only was she was never judgmental about these characters, she was bemused by them, in fact. They brought more judgment to her than she did ever of them. And I thought that was also...
New neighbor?
Evidently.
Significant improvement over the old neighbor.
200-pound transvestite with a skin condition? Yes, she is.
Oh, hi.
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 an important difference between the character of what Penny brought versus the character of what Katie brought in the original unaired pilot.
Right.
There was a...
There's the show. And what was the story way back when you started? You almost didn't get this role.
Yes, I told that story recently, and people kind of couldn't believe it. Yes, it was a different show. It was a different character. I wasn't quite right for it at the time. It was written a little bit older. It was written a little bit harder, if that makes sense.
Yet irony appeared once again when Kaylee Cuoco turned down the offer. She had originally been drawn to the sharp-edged, rebellious energy of the old script and worried that the new version of Penny would be trapped inside a bland stereotype. To finally earn the actress's approval, the production team had to spend an entire week persistently convincing her agent.
And then they rebooted the show and turned the character into Penny, and who we know today, obviously. And, well, those are two different humans. One went to the tanning salon before that, left scene there, okay.
And in the end, reality proved their persistence was completely worth it. Kaylee Cuoco's arrival became the missing soul of the series. When audiences watched her chemistry with the two eccentric geniuses, they no longer saw the cold distance of science, but instead found a deeply warm sense of connection.
The magic of Kaylee was Kaylee's character, as we figured this thing out on the fly, was amused by them, was not critical. If she got angry with them, it wasn't harsh.
Right.
You know,
It wasn't malicious.
It wasn't malicious.
Yeah.
There was a matriarchal. That's the wrong word. Matriarchal is the wrong word. But there was a
protectiveness
protective
that she
quality
had
she had towards them.
Yes.
And I think that.
Sweetie, you are weird. Everyone knows you're weird, but they're all still here because they care about you so much.
That the audience really responded to that these were not.
Not only was she was never judgmental about these characters, she was bemused by them, in fact. They brought more judgment to her than she did ever of them. And I thought that was also an important difference between the character of what Penny brought versus the character of what Katie brought in the original unaired pilot.
Right.
There was a...
You liked my short hair, right?
Yeah, I loved it. Love you, love the hair, would love to change the subject.
that if these guys, these socially inept, totally incapable, socially awkward human beings could have a chance with a girl like Penny, like Kaylee Cuoco, then there's hope for us all. And I remember thinking, the audience wanted to protect these two boys, these two men, these two innocents, and she honored that. And if you go back in just the opening, hello, 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 hi.
The evolution in the second pilot episode didn't stop with Penny alone. To expand the comedic ecosystem, the writers added two more crucial pieces to the puzzle, Howard Wolowitz and Raj Koothrappali.
Well, this party's a disaster.
Don't blame the party. You know how many favors I had to call in with my bounce house guy to get Wonder Woman?
Is that Wonder Woman?
Technically, it's a Chinese knockoff called Happy Strong Swimsuit Lady.
Then I take it back.
And it wasn't quite as extreme, as Raj will just shut up. But he would just obviously you realized he had stopped talking.
Yeah.
And
I think that's such an endearing character.
He's wonderful, and he represents the extreme beyond Sheldon of a withdrawal that's more it's more than by choice, it's by pathology. And we worked with a guy who couldn't speak to women, who actually had selective mutism, and women would walk in the room and he'd be talking and a woman would come in.
So, you guys work with Leonard and Sheldon at the university? I'm sorry, do you speak English?
Oh, he speaks English. He just can't speak to women.
And then there was also another guy that I worked with, and he was amazingly successful with women, and he was forever bringing different women around and stuff like that. And he explained that he had two rules for being successful with women, and they were proposition every woman and have no standards.
Nice.
What do you do for jobs?
Oh, we're scientists. So, the dark sciences.
What are the dark sciences?
Well, I am an astrophysicist, and a lot of that takes place at night, when there are vampires and miscellaneous undead out and about.
Oy vey.
For a major television network like CBS to throw away an incredibly expensive pilot episode and allow the team to completely start over was something that had almost never happened in nearly 50 years of television history. But that gamble ended up creating magic.
It happens almost never. It is a testament to Chuck, to CBS's belief and faith in Chuck, to their research information that showed that we had something very, very special in these characters of Sheldon and Leonard. But honestly, I don't think it's ever happened to me in my career. Wow. 47 and a half years, where a network would say,
This was one of the earliest lessons. This is not 2.5 Men. And there's a tone and quality to the characters that has to be honored. And I think we learned that by listening to the audience.
Yeah.
Well, we never wrote them as nerds. I mean, we've done jokes regarding that, but I think from the very beginning, we approached it as what would happen if we wrote about extraordinary minds, great minds, ill-equipped to deal with the mundane world that everyone takes for granted.
From a crude, dark, and uncomfortable original version, the courage to change transformed The Big Bang Theory into a warm home for every wonderfully eccentric soul. I hope today's story has redeemed your time at least more than the old script redeemed Sheldon's character. Subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next deep dive analysis.